Hola,
right. Hola,
comadre.
comadre.
How
How
are
are
you?
you?
Good.
I am
Sorry, there's a bit
good.
of a delay, so we might accidentally interrupt each other. So just fair warning.
Yes, I've gotten so many comments on just the way that we speak or why we like don't speak or why I've gotten comments and it's like, look, sometimes the audio is delayed, sometimes I hear your voice and it's like a second late, and so I'm trying not to cut you off. So just bear with us, okay? Bear with technology. Jenny and I are not like in the same room. We're doing our best, team.
Yeah. One day we will be. I'm gonna manifest it for us. We're
Yeah,
gonna have
we're
like
gonna
our own
manifest that.
studio,
Yeah,
and we're gonna meet up, and we're gonna have events, and it's gonna be fun. I'm putting it out to the
it's gonna work
universe.
out. Yeah. Okay. So, Jenny, we have a very special conversation, a very special topic. What or who are we talking about today?
Yes, I'm so excited. Today, we're doing a deep dive on Selena Quintanilla in honor of the most recent documentary that came out on Netflix. We want to talk about her in general, what our thoughts are, how we feel about her, how she's inspired us, as well as some of the things that we learned watching the documentary. And we're curious to hear your guys' thoughts too. Any new things that you noticed, or any new things that you learned, or what you thought about the documentary. So definitely leave that comment below. But yeah, Val, do you want to tell us what your first introduction to Selena was?
Yes, so actually, I remember watching the Selena movie in Texas. I was living in Texas at the time with my family and my aunt, and I just remember hearing her music growing up. I remember her infamous like purple jumpsuit. I'm like literally wearing purple today. Like purple's my favorite color. But I just remembered seeing myself in her and just seeing just Mexican beauty, Mexican American beauty, also knowing that she was from Texas, also knowing that she had traveled to Mexico and sang in Mexico. Like I've mentioned before, there was a time in my life where I lived in Mexico. So just really feeling connected to this individual and seeing her embrace two cultures and her identity and just the woman that she was. I think she really was a role model for Mexican American girls and just girls in general. I think she was an extremely well poised woman, and I just looked up to her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you,
Same
Jen?
here. I grew up watching the movie as well. And I know my mom had a few of her CDs, so we would always listen to that in the car, or we would listen to her songs while we were cleaning. I think ever since I was little, she was such an inspiration to me because she was very similar to me in the sense that we were Mexican American, but also she, again, she grew up in Texas, and Texas is very similar to like southern New Mexico culture because we are so close to El Paso
Yeah.
and actual Mexico. So seeing a lot of the things that she went through was really comforting to me because it was like, oh dang, like if she could do that, I could do that. Like it made me feel like I had a future. It made me feel like I could dream big and put
Mhm.
myself out there like her. And I agree with you.
Mhm.
She's just such a classy, graceful, beautiful woman inside and out. She was always so sweet and kind in all of the interviews that she did. And people genuinely loved her personality. And so she was a really big role model to me, not just because of the background that we had, but the way that she held herself as a woman.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to add just about, I don't know, I am thinking of like ways that sometimes we are portrayed by the media. But again, I think it goes back to just being like just like Mexican American excellence of just like she was very respectful, she was very funny, she was very kind. And she really made me want to be that type of woman.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I think she set a really high bar, and I think we're on our way. What do you think, Jen?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I did, it's kind of random, but I mentioned before we started filming, I was telling Val, I remember in third grade, they had us do this art project of like how we saw our future. And when I was younger, I wanted to be a singer. Maybe that'll happen. I don't know, sometime in the
Yeah.
future.
No, you're good.
But yeah, when we were little, they had us do like a little art project on how we wanted to, like how we saw our futures. And so, like I said, I wanted to be a singer. And I remember the picture I drew. It was like me on the stage. It looked like the same stage as the human Astrodome. The human, what am I saying? The Houston
The
Astrodome.
the
And
Houston.
my name was like in lights, just like the Selena name was. So, yeah,
Mhm.
if I have that picture anywhere, I will find it and we'll put it in here. But anyways, let's let's
No,
move on.
you're good. So, growing up in a tight-knit family, the band Selena y los Dinos. Again, another reason why she just made such an impact is because it speaks true to our culture of just being like tight-knit and like the family structure and how much we value and love our families. But during this documentary, we really got to see just the dynamic. They also talked about moving into one of their uncle's house and how at one point there was like 12 people living in a house and they were just like scrapping to like pull themselves out. And again, it goes back to resilience and it goes back to themes of survival, and like literally they were working hard to just get
Mm-hmm.
themselves out of that situation. And just the risk that her dad took from opening a restaurant to like starting a band to, I think everybody was just working overtime, from Marcela working in the restaurant, all the kids working in the restaurant, the dad managing the restaurant, the kids pulling the weight and playing in a band. Like, I think as kids they had a lot of pressure to provide for their family, which I hope no one ever has to go through that, but they certainly did, of like having to be providers at a very, very early age. So I really saw those themes throughout the documentary. Jenny, what themes did you feel or see throughout the documentary?
Well, just to piggyback off of what you just said, one of the things that I love about Mexican culture and growing up in a Mexican family is how team oriented it can be.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually kind of funny because when I moved here to Tennessee, my fiance and I, we lived with my brother for a little bit because we needed time to find jobs and move into an apartment and find an apartment and figure out what the pricing of the rent is here and all that good stuff. And I remember when I brought up the idea to him at first, he was like, "What? Like, that's isn't that kind of weird? Like, I don't want to impose." And I was like, "No, like, this is how it is in Mexican families. There was a time when my mom was living with my uncle because she was going through a rough time with her divorce, and like they teamed up because they're a family and you're here for each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I love
Yeah.
that that's something that we've seen in their family that is such a big part of their story. And you're right, like
Mm-hmm.
obviously Selena has an amazing work ethic, but her whole family did, and they
Mm-hmm.
all pitched in and they all played their part. So I think that's such a cool thing to highlight there. Some of the things that I noticed, and we're going to get into more detail here, is the imposter syndrome that she faced because she was
Mm-hmm.
such a confident woman, especially as she got more and more comfortable with her career.
Mm-hmm.
I just always thought she was like this Spitfire woman, but there was this one scene where she was talking about like how she struggled when she was in middle school and she cared too much what people thought, and it almost prevented her from continuing on with her dream of singing. So that was kind of cool because it humanized her a little bit more and it made me see her in more of a light of like not just somebody I look up to and aspire to be like, but somebody that I
Yeah.
could see myself being friends with, and again just having more of that humanness to her existence.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think when Jenny brought that up, and there was this part where she was trying to like pursue a solo career, and her sister being super supportive of like, we're not leaving you or abandoning you. It's just it's your time to shine and like you can do this on your own, and her sister cheering her on. It also made me kind of relate to that of like, man, even the people I look up to got scared. Because there's times when I've been scared or like I've said something or done something and being like, you know what, I believe in this. I'm going to stand by this. Even if, people don't agree, even if people don't like it, it's like, no, like, I think that's literally what bravery is. It's like, I'm making this and I'm saying this, and if you don't like it, too bad. And also knowing like when you're right or when you're wrong, or when, like when you're presented with new information, fill in the blank. But seeing her be brave and like saying like, yeah, I get scared too. I was like, wow, she was really brave. she was really brave.
She did it scared. I
Okay.
think that's the key that a lot of
She
people
did
forget
it
about is like,
scared.
yeah, sometimes you just have to do it scared.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. Okay, so performing at the family's Tex-Mex restaurant in Lake Jackson, early humble beginnings, home videos. I love the home video like recording type of way that this was filmed. It really looked like I don't know how to explain it. Like videos that were stitched together from like their childhood. It was actually cool because it
Yeah.
wasn't like super Hollywood. It was like, oh no, like somebody filmed this. Like I can see the camera shaking. Like does that make
Yeah.
sense? Like it
Yeah, no,
yeah,
no. I feel
I
like
really
it kind of reminded me of the home videos that I grew up with, where like it's always the uncle. It's like someone's dad is filming with their giant camcorder and they're like watching
Mhm.
them open presents at like a birthday party kind of a thing. So, like, I don't know, it kind of felt familiar to me in that way.
Yeah, also, one thing that I liked was the representation of Mexican American identity. So one thing that I saw through like the videos is like they would be hired to play at like quinceañeras or like parties. And I think that's very common because at parties, sometimes you'll hire like a mariachi band or you'll hire like a singer. And so to see that they were like getting booked, like they were getting bookings and that they were playing in these shows. And again, like you see the camera footage and you see like things like that, but also like how true it was to the culture because those are things in our culture like quinceañeras or weddings and that you hire the mariachis. And so kind of seeing that and feeling like, oh, I've been to those, I've seen those, I've been to a quinceañera, or like I don't know if you had one. I didn't. I had a little party. You went to it. Jenny's in the pictures. But
Yeah,
like
you were
what were
at
your
mine.
thoughts about yeah, yeah. So like what were
Yeah,
your
okay, I'm
thoughts
like, I
about
went.
that kind of what were your thoughts on that, on like those clips or like that stuff being filmed or shown?
Yeah, so I always forget how 80s Selena was until I see like old pictures and videos of her hair. And I'm just like, "Whoa.
The
That has
perm.
80s written all over it." Yes. And
Yeah.
it kind of reminds me of my mom because my mom used to have short hair too. Especially when she
Mhm.
was in the Navy before she, like right before she met my dad. So I look at that and I kind of, again, I feel that sense of familiarity. It feels like a member of my family, and I'm like, oh my God, that's so fun. And I think it's cool to see too, like, some of the music that she like they produced before she got famous, because I think a lot of people, especially me, I'm not gonna lie, I play a lot of her most popular songs just because I am so familiar with it. But then hearing some of these other songs that are like either in English or they are in Spanish, but it's more like an 80s pop vibe rather than like the Tejano or cumbia vibe. And that was kind of cool to see too, because I'm like, dang, like she was just so freaking talented. And like it was natural. Like she was just such a good dancer. She was just one of those celebrities where they just had that natural stage presence. So it really doesn't surprise me
Mhm.
that she ended up, getting as successful as she did, because even in those early years, like, man, it was amazing.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think that one thing that I really liked about Selena's parents is that they let her express herself. I think a lot of parents they suppress their children and they're like, quit dancing, quit singing. Who do you think you are? You think you're the next Michael Jackson? Like, why are you dressed like that? And it's like, it makes me so sad. I'm like, dude, like, you're suppressing your child. Like, they're like, for all you know, they might be a musician or a singer or a dancer. And I think sometimes parents just either they're envious or they're not comfortable with expression and they suppress their kids. And so again, when you give your kids like freedom to express themselves, it's like, man, who knows what they're capable of, like whether it's science or music or theater. And so I think the fact that her talents were nurtured, like look where she like got to. So yes, Jen, I completely agree. So Jenny and I said we will make a future episode on this, like the historical context of Texas and New Mexico, again because we're both from those areas. But one thing that I also liked in the documentary, again just going to the cinematography, like the way they filmed it and stitched it together, was they showed like newspaper clips of like historical facts, like this stuff happened, like we didn't make it up, but just the way Mexican Americans were treated or Hispanics, and Hispanics being like from Spain, like Hispania, like Hispanics, the way they were treated, the way her dad was treated, and kind of like just feeling that fire of like being successful. I don't know if you have some thoughts
Yeah.
before we move away from this.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting because obviously that's in the Selena movie. Like we all remember that scene where him and the original Dinos, they went to a random club to go play music, and then when they got there, the owner was like really confused about who they were and why they were there. And then he's on the
Hmm.
phone. He's like, I thought they were Italian. I didn't know they were Mexican. And then he goes outside and he gives them a check. And I don't know if I just never paid attention to the amount on the check whenever I watched the movie, or I've just seen it so many times that I don't remember. But in the documentary, Abraham Quintanilla, he says that they wrote him a check for $5. And I know that inflation has, changed this. So back then, $5 was worth more. But I still think that is a slap in the face. And that makes me so sad that they went through that his generation experienced the effects of segregation as Mexicans. So I think it's kind of interesting to just remind ourselves how not so long ago that happened and how that might have affected our parents or their parents'
Yeah.
generations growing up.
Yeah.
It's something to just keep in mind and remind ourselves that that's something we've never had to deal with and that's something that we should be grateful for.
Yeah.
And it's
Oh
because of the
yeah.
hard work that our those older generations have put in to stop that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when Jenny puts it into like it wasn't that long ago, like this man's still alive. Like this man is somebody's like grandfather. Like this man, and he looked like in the documentary he looked good. I'm like, he looks like he takes care of himself. So yeah, maybe this isn't mine and Jenny's struggle or mine and Jenny's story and we haven't had to go through that. I haven't. Like I've been very lucky and I've been very privileged, but maybe our parents weren't so lucky or our grandparents weren't as lucky. So, yeah, again, we will make a separate clip down the line, but I'm glad that they showed that historical context because, again, like it happened, it's part of our history. So, I'm glad that they showed that.
Well, and it's kind of
Okay.
interesting to see like the butterfly effect too, because I mean, as awful as it is that Abraham went through that, if he never went through that, maybe there wouldn't even be a Selena. So it's kind of
Hmm.
interesting to think about how all of those things have a domino effect. And I know some people don't believe in generational trauma. Like they don't think it's a real thing that we still hold on to all of the things that our ancestors went through before us. But if you're not going to believe it in the sense of DNA, I feel like it's still logical to realize that the things they went through have had an impact on their mind. And the impact it's had on their mind has an impact on their outlook in the world and how they raised you. And so it
Hmm.
still is interconnected.
The other on the flip end, on the flip side, and again, like we're kind of shifting through a lot of timelines, because we're going to talk about this timeline and then we're going to go back to maybe like when she was a teenager, all that stuff. But like on the flip side, it's also interesting how like man, and I think that's where this quote comes from. It's like you have to be more American than the Americans and more Mexican than the Mexicans, because also like they had it rough in Mexico where when they try to break into the Mexican market, they weren't even seen as Mexican or like even like appreciated by Mexican culture at first. They were very misunderstood. They
Mm-hmm.
couldn't connect, they couldn't relate. They're like, I don't know what you're singing or playing to me, like I don't get it. So yeah, it's also like on the inverse, it wasn't as easy on the border, it wasn't as easy on that end. I don't know what thoughts you have on that, Jen.
Yeah, I think that kind of just goes into that ni de aquí ni de allá mentality where
Mm-hmm.
as Mexicans, in Selena's scenario, what happened to them is when they were first starting, they were going to Mexico to perform these concerts and a lot of the Mexican people didn't understand like what kind of music they were playing because it just wasn't the music that they were used to. And I think somebody in the documentary mentioned something like, yeah, they applauded us, but it was more so out of just like politeness. It wasn't because they actually enjoyed the music. But then, whenever they're in America, I'm sure they've had their own hardships that we've, just talked about with segregation and stuff like that. And so it sucks when you are a Mexican American and you feel like you don't belong in the place that you currently live in, and then you don't feel like you belong in the place where your roots come from. And again, we're going to talk about this in another episode. We want to dedicate a whole episode to this concept, but one of the things that we are trying to start adapting into having a better and more positive mentality towards this messaging is, why not both? Literally, ¿por qué no los dos?
Yeah,
So like
exactly.
we've posted some like random clips of Becky G doing some interviews about this topic, and I just love her take on it. Like, she doesn't feel like she is lacking. She feels like she has culture times two, and she feels like she has more
Mm-hmm.
richness in her life because of the fact that she can celebrate both cultures. We kind of want to highlight that and just have more of a healthy mentality towards it as Mexican Americans, because luckily our parents and our grandparents have done the work to get us to this point. So we got to do something amazing with that mentality, you know?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I actually really like that. And speaking of culture, like because of my grandparents and because of my parents, I should not suppress or forget their culture. I should embrace it. But I also have this other beautiful culture. So yeah, it's like culture times two. Like I am just so much more rich because of it. So really well said, Jen. I think also one thing that I learned through this documentary, and this actually goes back to Jenny Rivera, but how hard it is for females in Latin America to kind of, I don't want to say bloom, but break into the music industry. It usually tends to be more male dominated. And again, Jenny brought up Becky G, who else? Carol G. We had Jenny Rivera. Before that, we had Selena. We have Shakira, Natalia del Fuente. Did I say that right?
La Forcade.
La Forcade. So like now, like I can count them on my fingers. Like there's a lot. So also just seeing like where we started to where we're at now. Because yeah, like I don't know, Jen. Like what kind of thoughts do you have on this? I'm still trying to like develop my thoughts right now. So what thoughts do you have? You give us your thoughts.
That's okay. Yeah, honestly, I think it's really cool to see how Selena set the stage for that. Because, I mean, Shakira was still, really successful and very popular in the 90s. So they were kind of going at the same time. So was Thalia. But I feel
Mm-hmm.
like more and more women at each generation they start to be more prevalent in the music industry when it comes to Spanish speaking music, and I think that's a really wonderful thing to see.
Yeah, so again, I'm just glad that they highlighted that. One of the things that I thought was super interesting and that Selena was vocal about in the documentary, which I think was different from like the movie or even from the recent like Netflix series that came out, was that she was homeschooled. Like a lot of her classes had to be done just via kind of like homeschooling because she was
Mail.
out on the road, and yeah, she was already touring in high school. And I'm like, well, that is so cool, but also she's living life on the road. She didn't have kind of the experience that you and I did of going to high school. And so part of me is like, wow, how cool, but also like this girl was working. Like she was working and she was working
Yeah.
hard. So I also feel like
Yeah,
I didn't see that. Go ahead.
yeah. Sorry. I was just going to say, I feel, in a way, I kind of feel sad for her because her life was already so short. There's a freaking
Hmm.
Yolanda. But her life was already so short. I'm like, everybody knows that if Yolanda gets out, it's on site. I would honestly be scared for her if she, not in a, not in a supportive way, just like she better watch out. But anyways, her life was cut short, obviously, and it makes me kind of
Hmm.
sad to think about it because I'm just like, oh, like she also lacked a childhood in a lot of ways because of the fact that she got to, or she had to grow up so fast. But
Hmm.
I also think, you have to try and think as much about the perspective as you can. As awful as it is that her life was taken away from us early, she did seem genuinely happy. And so, yeah, she didn't have the full childhood that a lot of us were so lucky to grow up with, but it's cool to see how she never let go of that childlike wonder. I think that's one of the things I loved about her the
Hmm.
most. Is she was very just playful and fun and like didn't take things too seriously. So,
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think that was one of the things that I liked. One of the things that I absolutely love about her is her laugh and her smile. and just how joyous she was. And again, of like, you don't have to be mean or competitive or rude. It's like you can just have fun with it. Like when you're having fun, like honestly, I think that is one of the highest like frequencies is like when you're having fun. Because people want to be around you, not like, oh, I don't want to sit next to that person. So she was very magnetic, and actually I really like that. So we talked about her traveling and the band. Also, I feel like we got to learn a lot about AB and Suzette and just kind of their dynamics. Suzette kind of not wanting to be in the band but being the one left over, and dad was like, nope, you're gonna play drums. And then AB being like, yeah, I'm gonna be a rock star. I like kind of hearing their thoughts of like in the moment, how did they take it? And Suzette being like, well, I guess we're all doing this. Like she kind of just did it for the family. And I'm like, oh, girl, you're a team player. And then AB's like, I'm gonna be a rock star. And then him, yeah, and then him then learning to like learn rhythm and notes and songwriting, and I'm just being a more of a producer and composer, and I was just like, oh man, like he was very talented too, and he went on to do other projects even after she passed. So again, it goes to speak about
Cumbia
like the
Kings.
talent in this family. Yes, yes, Cumbia Kings, yes. Oh my gosh, girl, I'm gonna play that after this. But like they were all very talented. Yeah, so that was one thing that I think I got to see more of the family this time. I we even got the interview with mom and like how she felt with the restaurant. But like I think this I actually really liked that I got to hear personal voices and what they thought and felt. So what were your thoughts on that, Jen?
Yeah, again, I think it was very similar to my family dynamic of like that very Americanized type of Mexican family. And like I would hear the way that her mom would speak, like it kind of reminded me of one of my tias. And like just listening to all of their sides of the story, I like that the documentary focused on the Dinos as well. Like they didn't a lot of the content that we see about Selena is about her because of the fact that she was like the lead singer and the fact that she has sadly passed away. So we don't really get to hear the other supporting stories until now. And one of the things that stuck out to me, and this is something I can relate to, is the fact that Selena was a no sabo.
Mhm.
That girl, she freaking put in the work. They put like images of her notebooks when it came to trying to learn about Spanish, and she would be like putting like the Spanish word and then the English translation. So to see how much hard work she put into trying to learn Spanish and then successfully became fluent is an inspiration to me. I mean, I'm 29 at this point and I'm still not fully fluent, but I'm almost there. I can definitely understand. I just have a hard time talking about the past and the present because of the conjugation. But for the most part, I could get by. Like if you put me in Mexico, I could definitely get by. And so seeing somebody who became fluent later in life really makes me just feel inspired. And again, it goes to show how much work ethic she put in because she didn't have Duolingo. She had to do that all
Yeah,
manually. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's funny. No, I completely agree. I think the family really, really worked hard. And again, I think it just goes to speak volumes about our culture. Like, I mean, it's like nothing like a hardworking Mexican, but she just worked hard. Other things I got to see through the documentary were her endeavors and her like tapping into like design. And so it was really cool because on the in the documentary you see the costumes and the sister's like, yeah, she did it, and we wore them because we loved her. But she made fun of the cow print. I was watching the documentary with my husband, and he's like, that's some ugly cow print, and I'm like, you know, it's not my favorite print,
It
but
was
she was
iconic.
experimenting. Yeah,
I think it was iconic.
I liked it. I liked it better in the Jennifer Lopez movie, but again, it Hollywood comes in, they make it better. They were working with whatever tools they had. So whenever
Yeah.
you see it in the documentary, you see it for what it is without the Hollywood edit, without the. So it's just like that's what it looked like. Okay. But
Yeah.
again, Suzette being like, we did it because we loved her. So I'm just like, wow,
Yeah.
Suzette, everybody was just a team player. It was really a band, putting their efforts together and doing what they could. So her
Yeah.
early stages of design and then her notebooks, they showed her notebooks, and I was like, oh my gosh. So as somebody that loves art and loves clothes, That is something that growing up, and I don't know if it was like influenced by Selena, but my grandmother, she was a seamstress and she was so close. And so from a very, very early age, I would like draw clothes and she was like, well, I can make it for you. I didn't know how. I can't sew, team. I'm sorry. But she could. And she's like, yeah, draw it and I'll make it for you. So from a very early age, I was drawing stuff and then it just kind of stopped. It kind of stopped. But seeing that, I was like, I remember I used to draw, I used to sketch, I used to design clothes, and I was like, man, maybe that's something I should go back to.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Jen, on just her notebooks, her art. You brought up, the Spanish and kind of how you related to her in that way. I don't know if you have any other thoughts on that.
No other thoughts on that, but I think you should totally learn how to sew, and we should get like a fashion line from Val. I would totally wear your clothes.
Oh, dude, thanks. Thanks. Okay, so on like on that topic, I also saw kind of like her dad and her beliefs. And again, I always pay attention to what people say because people reveal themselves in their words. And so the dad, again, I admire this guy's ambition and how hardworking he was, but also he said a few things that I was like, what? What a total diss. So he was kind of like, yeah, she would draw her little sketches, but she knew where the money was at and it was in singing. And I was like, dude, like there's money to be made in fashion. And she was great. She had amazing taste. And she opened up
Yeah.
her clothing line on her own. Like, I think the dad, had his biases, for lack of better words, had his
Yeah.
biases. But then also just the way she got married, I think she was afraid to tell her dad. And again, it goes into like power, like, well, why were you afraid to tell your dad? And her dad, like, not approving of Chris, the band member. And Jenny has more information on this because she's read his book, so his actual telling of accounts. And so I don't understand why that was. I mean, what is it? Selena's dad, her kids, AB and Suzette, they were musicians. So for Chris, it's like, well, is it below you, like for your daughter to date a musician? Because your kids are musicians. So, like, what's the issue? Like, they're playing in the same band. Are they like below
Yeah.
you or something? Or like, how would it be a distraction? They're literally in the same band. Like,
Yeah,
so I
because
don't understand what the
wasn't one
issues.
of the comments
Oh,
that he made something along the lines of like, "Oh, you're just gonna like be with a guitarist then?" And it's like,
your
yeah,
son's a guitarist, bro.
I'm
Yeah.
a singer.
Yeah, yeah.
You
So,
know,
yeah.
yeah. I have always found that dynamic pretty interesting because I think first of all, Abraham was a very strict dad from what it seems. Just a lot of the things that I've read online or videos I've seen or the books that I've read and things like that. But luckily I didn't have to go through anything like that. My dad's white, so I didn't have like a super strict Mexican father. However, I have four tios, so and a grandpa. My grandpa's passed, but like I've seen what that dynamic looks like, and so it kind of just made me feel for Selena because of some of the comments that he did make. Where on one hand, Abraham was a visionary and he was very non-traditional in the sense where he's like, yeah, my kids are going to start a band and they're going to be successful. That's not a very Mexican thing to do. Usually
Yeah, that's
Mexican
very progressive.
families
Yeah.
are like, yeah, they're more so like, okay, we're going to stay safe. You're going to get a good job, a government job. You're going to work your way up
Hmm.
and you're going to just do what you need to do to provide. That's like the main thing is you just want to make sure you have enough money to survive and then you're good. So I will say that was kind of interesting to see the polar opposites at play there. However, it kind of seemed to me like he was the kind of person where like he only wanted his idea to be the one that is followed. And like you said, going back to
Hmm.
the fashion thing, he's like, well, you can do that little thing if you want. My daughter is very smart. She's a very intelligent woman. She can, make anything work, but I'm still going to put it down a little bit. Like it's just a little like hobby. The main thing is the singing. And it's kind of interesting to me because I'm just like do you only want people to enact on your ideas? Is that what it is? Like I'm
Hmm.
just curious about that, the psychology behind that thought process. And then, I've heard some rumors about the family not getting along with Chris after
Mm.
Selena's passing. It's been a really, so I have the book right here. It's called To Selena with Love from Chris Bettis. Sorry, it's super bright in
Mm.
here. I love
Mm.
this picture of her. But I can't, it's been a while since I've read the book, so I can't remember exactly what it was word for word, but I do know they had their struggles. What I love about Chris is he is very, very graceful too. He is such a humble,
Mhm.
wonderful, warm hearted human being. Like, Selena made a great choice in a husband because even after her death, I know he expressed the fact that they had their disagreements, but he was always very respectful in how he spoke about them. So I really do like
Mhm.
that. And since we're on the topic of the book, one of the things that I loved about the book is again how much more human Selena seemed. In the book, he would talk about her, like some of the fights that they would have, some of the things that she struggled with, some of the letters that she wrote. So it was cool to kind of see a different side of her and make her feel more just, again, human. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Also, it was nice to hear Chris's voice and Chris's perspective, and I really like his demeanor. I think he's just a very calm person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. Also, hearing Suzette and like hearing that country, like Texas, like twang, that like country accent,
Yeah.
and just being like, oh, like that's what I grew up with. Like I'm just
Yes.
like my people. But just man, I
Yeah.
feel like I know them and just I loved it. And then in regards, actually, I've learned the difference between control and protection. So control serves the person that's doing the controlling. It's like, I don't want you to wear that, or oh, I don't want you to do that. And it's like it controls the narrative of the person doing the controlling versus protecting, you're actually watching out for the individual. Like, hey, you can say whatever you want, just know it might be met with controversy. Or you can wear whatever you want. You go, girl. But, just know that it might put you in fill in the blank situation, or it might not be well received, or it might not be the most appropriate. And it's like at the end of the day, they let you do whatever you're going to do, but they are watching out for you. But on the inverse in control, it's like, I don't want you to wear that because it makes me feel insecure. I don't want you to say that because you're going to outshine me. I don't want you. So I feel
Mm-hmm.
like there is some level of, I don't know if it's control or protection on the side of the dad, but yeah, I definitely was paying
Yeah.
attention to that.
Yeah, well, and then just the fact that Selena felt like she had to go elope so that she could actually be with the person that she loved. And she didn't feel like she could share that with her dad because of how judgmental he was. And it's like, again, I do understand that on one hand, he kind of defends himself in the documentary and he's like, I was a father and I want to protect my children as much as possible. But on the other hand, I feel like, and I don't know these people personally, so,
Yeah.
you could take this with a grain of salt, but just based off of Chris's demeanor, who he is as a person, how he conducts himself, I feel like if that person was in my kids, I mean, I'm not a mother or anything yet, but if that person was in my child's life, I would be like, you're a good person. Like ask more questions about why you guys want to get married or why you're getting in a relationship rather than just like shutting it down right away. And that made me so sad
Hmm.
for Selena because I have experienced some of those things as a child where like the saying was because I said so, because I'm the one who makes the rules, because you're living under my roof. And it's like, okay, that's fine. Like I'm going to respect you because you're my parent. I'm going to try my best to respect you because, I was a little wild in my teenage days, but I wanted to know the reason behind the rule. If you explained it to me, I
Hmm.
would probably be more likely to adhere to that rule that you set forth for me. But instead, it was just like, no, like we're shutting this down completely. And then, in a way, I think it really did work out because she did get to experience an amazing love before she passed. So,
Yeah, yeah. I think too, I will go and continue on the Selena documentary. But for like parenting wise, I think one thing that I've learned, and this has come from like coaching kids, working with kids both in a psychological and physical way, is asking why questions. And again, like kids sometimes just want to know why, and just be like, well, do you think you have enough data? Do you think you know this person well enough? Or like, well, have you seen them in a bad mood? Like, have you seen what they're like? Are they aggressive? Are they calm? Have you seen what they're like when they don't get their way? Have you seen what they're like, when you're out in public? Like, do you know this person well enough? And asking, like, maybe like if you know them, be like, well, I know you like them and you trust them. I just don't know if I know this person well enough for you. So I'm not saying no, I'm just saying slow down. But a lot of times, I think parents or people don't have those words or have that reasoning, and they just know control. And it's like, because I said so, because I don't want to,
Yeah.
because I feel like it. And it's just like, then it's about control. And then it's like, well, you could have made it about the person and their like good intentions, and like, do you know that, like, making it about them, but you made it about you because I said so, because I don't want to,
Right.
because it's my house. And it's like, oh, we could have connected and we could have, but no, now it's about control. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, and I honestly, this might be kind of a hot take, but I think it is just lazy parenting. If you're not going to take the
Mm.
time to coach your child on how to look for red flags and green flags in friendships and relationships and all the people that they are going to meet in this world, you're doing them a disservice. If you're prohibiting them from seeing something just because you said so, without actually giving them the background information on why, or helping them to get to the same perspective as you, all you're doing is making them angry and not want to abide by your rules. And then it just makes a bad situation for both. Again,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a parent, but I have a psychology degree and I have taken lots of classes on childhood development, things that work, things that don't work. I have also worked with kids. And so I think opening up that communication and not being so afraid to like get deeper with them is really important because it's going to set you up for success in the long run. It's going to take longer in the moment because you're going to have to sit down with them and have a whole conversation about it. But then it's going to make it easier for you in the future because you won't have to continue to have those conversations every single time.
Yeah, and it goes back into you're training your kid's brain to think, not to just like trust your
Teaching a
feelings.
man
It's
to
like, okay,
fish.
well, yes, exactly. Yes, Jen. Yes, so exactly. Okay, so we've moved on to um maybe the creative process. Oh, one thing that I really liked is that she was grateful to like her fans and how like devoted she was to them. I think that that really does speak. I see that because her fans still to this day will watch the documentaries, will buy the fill in the blank. It's like that's how loved she was.
Yeah, we'll fight Yolanda when she
There's
comes out of jail.
Yeah. Okay, Jen. So why does her story matter today? Whether it's Mexican American excellence or cultural pride or representation, why does she matter today and why does she continue to inspire younger generations?
Well, again, I think her class and the way that she is as a person still speaks to people even decades later. It's still a an aspiration to be like her and to be the kind of woman that she was. Again, a reminder that life is short. We don't know when we're going to go. So, live your life to the fullest. Do the things you want to do. Make the most out of it. Treat the ones that you have around you with love. Like, I think those are the key takeaways that I have from her existence on this planet. The other thing too, kind of going back to the relationship between the Quintanillas and Chris, since I don't even know. Actually, it might have been a few years ago. I think it was after this book came out that they finally kind of mended their relationship, and obviously, like they're doing interviews with him together and stuff like that, so things are better. But I think reminding ourselves that family is so important, and you might disagree, but it's important to keep love at the center of it all so that you can continue to move forward with each other because he doesn't have her anymore, but they're still
Hmm.
there and he can still experience pieces of her as he continues to spend time with them. So that makes me really happy that they have mended some of those differences that they used to have.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think of why she's still relevant today. I think it's because, and I don't know if you feel this, Jen. I feel this, so I can only speak for myself. But I feel like she really connected to both cultures. And it's easier to just draw a line and that side sucks, or this side sucks, or you suck, or go back to where you came from, or you don't fit in here. But she really built a bridge and she really connected to both cultures. And she was like I don't know how to explain it, but it's she led in both areas. And she's like, this is what respect looks like. This is what beauty looks like, and authenticity, and being brilliant and bright and respectful. And I think she was a role model. I think she was a role model. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I think of little girls, whether it's in coaching or in martial arts or just academia, it's like I want to lead those little girls and be like, you can do it. You are smart enough. You are capable. So yeah, I think that's another reason it was she was a role model for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
And
Jenny's an
it's really
amazing role
cool
model too.
too. Thank you. I think you're an amazing role model. um, I was gonna say, I think it's really cool too because I've actually learned recently that she's really big in the Black community. I've seen a lot of
Mm.
videos and like funny memes where people will be talking about her and they're like, we love her," and like there's this one video of this little girl singing Selena, and she doesn't know Spanish, but she's like singing. I think it's either Bidi Bidi Bam Bam or Como la Flor, and she's singing it like
Mhm.
phonetically, and she's getting most of the words right. And I'm just like, oh, that makes me my heart so happy that she's able to transcend different cultures. Like other people are able
Mhm.
to appreciate her just because of who she was as a person, and then that's cool too because then the music itself is more widespread throughout the world. And again, it just comes down to like sharing cultures and being able to experience different kind of cultures as a human being. I think that's one of the most beautiful things we can do as humans is travel, share cultures, learn about other cultures, and like be able to celebrate them even if we didn't experience them growing up. Just being able to get excited about somebody else's culture, I think is really wonderful.
Yeah, I completely agree. And kind of to just build on what Jenny is saying, is like the power of music. And again, I think everything goes back to like what you pour into yourself, how you talk to yourself, what you listen to. But her music is very upbeat. Like her music can put you in a good mood. Her music had really strong, because of AB, like it was very deep. It wasn't like surface level, like
Yeah.
Date 'Em
Well,
and
you
Leave
put a lot of
'Em,
like
or like,
twists.
yeah. And so it was a very,
Yeah.
very deep music. And also it can be appreciated. You were talking about the Black community, but similarly, I feel the same way about Aaliyah, who also passed away young.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite songs, Dust Yourself Off and Try Again. It's like if at first you don't succeed. I love that song. And like I dance to
Mm-hmm.
that, and I'm like, if I don't succeed today, like you best believe I'm gonna be back at it tomorrow. But I love her, and again, like the message is just so strong. So when I think of people I look up to or the music I want to listen to, if it's not uplifting me, if it's not telling me like keep going, it's like I don't want it. Like I don't want it. It's not even going into my brain. Like I'm not gonna feed that to my brain. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, Jen. What thoughts do you have on that?
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that's cool in general. I don't know. This is like a whole. Maybe we should do an episode on this. If you guys want an episode on like music and just music in general, or like positive vibes in music, or whatever the case may be, let us know and we could definitely make that for you because that's something that Val and I have talked about before. As I get older, I every now and then I'll still listen to like sad music, or sometimes I'll listen to rock or
Or
like angry music and stuff like that. But like the older I get, the more I want to listen to more positive and uplifting music. Like I really like country music because a lot of the time I know a lot of people make fun of country music because they're like, I just need my woman and a beer and I'm good. But I'm just like, good for you. You're like looking at the simple pleasures of life. So like I
yeah,
love
yeah.
that. Like music that have themes of like manifestation. That Aaliyah song is a really good one. Or lately I've been playing a lot of the one from Zootopia by Shakira. And she's like, oh,
Mhm.
it gives me chills just thinking about it. She's like, try everything. Oh, 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 oh.
Mhm.
So I don't
Yeah.
know. I just think it makes a difference. And I feel a difference in my day whenever I do listen to more positive music. So that was kind of a little bit of a tangent there. I'm going back to more of the like the production side of music. One of the things that I love about AB and Chris, they put so many little mixes of more modern music into the cumbias. Like AB would infuse a lot of like funk elements, or like Chris would put like electric guitar in some of the background of her songs. And I thought that was really cool because yes, they did Tejano music and cumbias, but they made it their own. They made it their own flavor, and I think that's one of the things that made them so successful.
No, I completely agree. Okay, so some closing thoughts. I think, how do we want to remember Selena? What legacy has she left for us? And how do we, I don't know, keep her spirit alive? I don't know. I guess her legacy, I mean, it's ongoing, people, she's still relevant. First and foremost, she's still relevant. Her message, her music is still relevant. Just the things she left behind, it's like, if she can do it, I can do it too. And I will double down on that. And like, I have goals and dreams to chase and pursue. And she made them happen. So I know I can do it too. And I also knowing like the type of role model I want to be. So, Jenny, what do you think about that? Like her legacy and like what she's taught you, maybe personally, whether it's be yourself or I don't know. And then like, how do we honor her, I guess?
I would say we can honor her by being our unique selves, but taking the
Mm-hmm.
things that we like from her own personality. So that grace, that classiness, the kindness, the
Mm-hmm.
fun, the laughter. Definitely take that and then make it your own. Be your own person, be yourself.
Yeah. Um, okay, you guys. So we want to hear all the comments, what you thought, what your personal experience was watching the interview, because again, Jenny and I, we watch it from several perspectives. First of all, growing up with her as fans, as psychologists, also as videographers. Jenny and I both edit, we film. So I was paying attention to like the clips, to the way they were stitched, to the 80s themes. So like, what are some things that maybe we miss? What are some things that you liked? What are some things that you didn't like? What are some things that you wish we could have talked about? I don't know. What thoughts do you have for the audience, Jen?
Yeah, I'm curious about your guys' thoughts on like some of the tea with the family, because I know there's a lot of rumors and stuff. Some of the things like they might not be true, and some of the things might be based in the truth. I think that's an interesting aspect of this story is like most of us with Mexican families have that family drama, especially after somebody passes away. Like we all joke around about that thing where it's like we're always fighting over the property, and then you get to the property in
Mm.
Mexico and it's like a shack. So it's just like kind of interesting to see how that dynamic plays out across, different areas of the US and down into Mexico and stuff like that. So I'm curious to hear what your guys' thoughts are on the family dynamics. But I'm also curious to hear what your thoughts are about them mending that conflict, because even though there is some tea on that topic, I think it's cool that they decided to just like be better. And they were like, you know what? Like at this point, it's been so many freaking years since she's passed. Let's all just get along. Let's like continue putting her legacy out there in a positive light. Let's work together. I really, really like that. That's something that they've kind of banded all together to work on,
Mm-hmm.
and making sure that her story is told correctly. And actually, fun fact:
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people don't know this, but the movie with Jennifer Lopez, it had to be put out so quickly after Selena's death because Hollywood was already working on making a movie about it. And so the Quintanillas didn't want them to, like, I don't know who the actual producers were, but whoever was working on a Selena project, the Quintanillas didn't want
Mm-hmm.
those people telling her story. They wanted to be the ones who told her story, so that it could be done justice. And so a lot of people hated on them, like right after she passed away, because they thought they were trying to make money off of her. But it's because they were trying to make sure that the narrative was told correctly. So just curious about all your guys' thoughts on that. But I do like that they are moving forward in more of a communicative light.
Yeah. Okay. One last thought, and we didn't talk about this. We made jokes about Yolanda, but also, oh my gosh, should we talk about Yolanda? Like, is she out for parole? Like, what's the deal with that? The documentary
So
talked about her briefly. Um,
yeah,
I don't.
last I
Okay, so
heard, she was up for, I don't know what it's called. I can't remember. Where basically they like review your file and they determine whether or not you're able to be released on probation or if you need to stay in jail. And they determined that she needs to stay in jail. I can't remember how much longer. I want to say maybe somewhere between like 5 to 10 more years. But I
Mm.
remember when that was news, and genuinely, I really believe she would get hurt if she comes out. Like, people are very, very upset, rightfully so. And I know
Mm.
there would be like an angry mob of people as soon as Yolanda would get out. So I don't
Yeah.
know, again, like how, if that's going to happen at all or anytime soon. I really hope it doesn't, because it's just so sad
Mm.
to think about how somebody could let so much hate in their heart, jealousy, insecurities build up to the point where, I know Yolanda says it was an accident, but she had a freaking gun, you know? Like,
Yeah, why did
she
you take
pulled
a
the
gun to the
trigger.
meeting? Why? Why did you
Right.
take a gun
So
to the
it's just
meeting?
like, no
Why?
matter what her stance is, and obviously I know that that's not what it really was, but even if that was the case, like the fact that it was out, the fact that it quote unquote went off is like, it never needed to get to that level, you know? So,
Yeah.
those are my thoughts.
Dang, I have a lot of thoughts, Jenny. So on one end, again, I think it's important to teach our children not what to think, rather how to think. And again, just being curious. It's like, okay, well, this person is maybe, they've lied to me or they've kept things from me or they fill in the blank. Maybe this is a person I shouldn't trust, or maybe this is a person I shouldn't like see by myself, or maybe we should go and have a meeting. I want to say like at Starbucks or somewhere public, but Yolanda brought a gun to a hotel room. So I just, again, maybe we'll never know because Selena isn't here anymore. But I would love to know more about that relationship. Yeah, I would love to just know more about that relationship and just like how it turned out the way that it did, why Selena trusted her so much. And again, it's important to teach people how to think, not what to think, but how. And so I guess maybe at the point that they were both at, it was confrontational. And again, maybe that's why the gun was there. But maybe there could have been steps so that all of this could have been avoided. But that was definitely one of the lessons that I learned from a very early age. It's like careful who you trust.
Yeah.
And also,
Well, and then it's kind of interesting. Sorry, go ahead.
no, 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 I'm done.
I was gonna say, I think it's also interesting how different times it was in the 80s. I can't remember exactly how Yolanda like got into their lives in the first place. I know she was the president of the fan club, but I can't remember. And actually, I think it talks about it in this book that Chris wrote. Maybe I'll have to reread it because it's a really good read. If you haven't read it, ask for it for Christmas. Phenomenal. This is one of the books that I like could not put down. But I think she used to be like a nurse before she got
Mm.
this job of being president of the fan club, and it's just kind of interesting to think about because of how humble the family was. They kind of just treated it as like a normal day-to-day business kind of a thing. Like if you're, I don't know, like if you own a local grocery store or something like that, they're like, "Yeah, come on in, we'll hire you. You'll be our manager, no big deal, whatever." And they didn't, I don't know if they thought maybe this is missing information that I don't know, but I don't know if they thought to give her a background check or to look into these things before they hired her. And I feel like it just goes to show how different those times were back then, because you just took what you saw at face value. And so if somebody says, like, oh yeah, I used to work here and I used to work here and lie about it, and then you not find out about it until later and their behavior starts to get increasingly more dangerous, and then unfortunately, before you know it, it's too late. And I'm not trying to say that to fault anybody. Obviously, the only person whose fault this is Yolanda. But it is kind of interesting to think about how different things were back then when it came to the safety protocols and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, man, yeah, just that tragic end. And then recently it's like her autopsy has been revisited, and in the movie, like they have like Jennifer Lopez like kind of reenact how the events happened. She ran out of the hotel room and she's holding her shoulder, because I think she got shot like in the shoulder area, and so she's holding
Yes.
her chest and she's bleeding and she's rushed to the hospital, and she could have would have should have been saved. Delay, and I think we've come a long
Yeah.
way in just even medicine in these last few years. And Yeah, it just sucks, man. It could have all been avoided. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that's something that I learned about, and I don't know. I don't know if her family would ever see this video. So, trigger warning for anybody who might find this content uncomfortable to think about, but I'm going to get a little more into the details on her death. I learned that one of the reasons why Selena passed away is because the angle that the bullet went into her, it hit a major artery, and Selena's trying to get away, obviously. So she was like running through the courtyard of the hotel. And when she was
Hmm.
running, and with the adrenaline, it caused her heart to pump more blood. Well, when it pumped more blood, it was making the blood come out of her quicker. And so that's why she died so quickly on the scene, was because by the time she got to the hotel lobby, she like collapsed. And then luckily, when people came over to her to help her out, that's when she named Yolanda, and she was like, "That's the one who killed me." Those were her last words, sadly. And then she passed away like shortly after on the floor. And it's because she lost so much blood from the adrenaline and from the running and from the fact that that main artery was hit. So it's actually kind of crazy to think about, because they say that she would have had a way higher chances of being alive still if she didn't run. And again, she did what she needed to do. She was just trying to survive and like freaking out, like anybody would be doing that. But it's just kind of weird to think about. Like I wonder how that would have gone. Like to imagine what things would have been like if she was here today. To imagine what music would be out, how she would have grown as a person, like, and it's just so freaking sad, like having kids, and it just breaks my heart. Yeah. So
Whew, okay,
let's
well, I
end
don't want
this
to
on a
end on
more
a.
positive note. I
Yeah,
know.
like wow. Well, okay. All right, let's think. Let's think on the spot. One thing that I love that I do want for myself is she always wanted like a farm in Texas. And I want that. I want that for myself. I want to use this to like manifest out loud. But I do want to move to Texas and have my farm animals and my dogs and just lots of land and big family and just potlucks and get-togethers and carne asadas and all the good stuff. And I want to play her jams. I want to play her music. I want, to have her be one of, because I'm inspired by a lot of people, but one of the people that, she inspired me, and it's gonna be a good time. And I think for her, like, we are the fruits of her labor. Like, she's inspired so many women, and whether it's Becky G, because she's talked about it, Selena Gomez, like, she has empowered so many women, including both of us. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we should all be a little more like Selena.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But again, to kind of be a little bit more on a positive note, we got some fun episodes coming out for you. I don't want to say the order that we're trying to put it in, because things are always changing, but just to give you guys a glimpse of some of the episodes that are coming up. We are going to be doing a Christmas episode, so talking about all of the fun things that we get to experience as Americans with the celebration of Christmas, as well as Latinas who have a background being Mexican women or Mexican rooted, however you want to word it. We also have a fun episode coming up with one of my cousins. She is a licensed therapist and she specializes in addictions. So we're gonna be learning a lot from her. I don't know, Val. Do you want to do like a New Year's, like? Well, I don't know if it'll go up on New Year's Eve, but like talk about New Year's
Mm.
resolutions, talk about the grape thing and all that good stuff.
Yeah, maybe we can like
I think we
double
should.
it. We can put it in the same episode. It's the time from when we film to when we record to when we edit to when we post. We will have to see, but yes, that would be a really great episode. So if you follow us on Instagram, you guys can totally DM us like ideas or traditions maybe
Yeah, give
you
us
guys do or
suggestions.
things we should talk about. Yeah, that way like it feels a little bit more inclusive. That way it's not just Jenny and I thinking about this stuff. We have more of like teamwork makes the dream work.
Yes.
So what your
Yeah, if
traditions
there's any
are, what we
specific
might be
topics you
forgetting.
want, let us know.
Yeah. Okay. I think
Awesome.
that's a good way to end it, Jen.
Alrighty. I think
All
so
right. Well, sending you
too.
guys so
As
much love.
always,
Thank you so much.
oh, sorry, I was just going to
Okay.
say, as always, if you guys want to find us on Instagram, we are at Conscious Madres. I am at the.jenny.b. That's spelled Jeni. Val is at Mayday 14. Follow us, give us a like, give us a comment, subscribe on YouTube, and we'll be here for you. And we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Bye, you guys.
Bye.